You run down on your feature event, 25 laps. On the pole is car number 98, Bud Finale of Jamestown, New York, a 1957 Chevy. Next on the pole, car number 8, Emery Mann of Warren, PA.
Then from Dickie Ben's went to Skyline, which
That's
was
right.
in Sugar Grove. What do you recall about that track?
Well, it was longer than Dickie Ben, and it was wider than Dickie Ben. And I remember that the competition was fierce. And that was, I don't know whether I should tell you about the mouse in Emery's radiator or not. That was where the mouse was in his radiator.
Now, how did he discover that?
Well, it started to boil. And steam. And there were other things that happened. If it could happen, it happened to Emery.
Yeah. You went to Skyline, and Gordon took pictures at Skyline.
Yes, yes. And he set up a board that had a display of pictures on it. And the people that came in and out of the racetrack could buy pictures. And I sat with the board and sold the pictures.
Because clearly he was on the inside.
He was on the infield.
In the infield. I mean, there was action going on all over the place. Whether he would position himself on the first turn or the second turn, where you anticipate where there's more likely to be action. Did he talk to you at all about his strategy?
No, he didn't have one. He ran from place to place.
Did he?
Yes.
Okay.
And he didn't, if there was an accident, if there was a great pileup, he of course ran to it. And I don't think that he developed anything in his mind as to how he would do it. But he did work on how to pose the men with their cars or with the flagmen. And that was, he never talked about it, he just did it.
Did he have a favorites? Did he come back and say, once again, Bobby Schneider, Squirt Johns, did he talk about any of the guys more than others?
Well, nobody was supposed to win except Emery.
So he was very biased.
Yes, there was nobody to talk about.
Fair answer.
In later times, like in 57 and 58, and when he moved over any of the tracks he went to, if I listened and didn't talk to people around me, I could tell how his motor was running. And Gordon knew this. I would tell Gordon before the race ended whether Emery was whether he was going to place in the first 2 or 3 or not, because my ear was tuned to what his car should run like, and I think it had to do with the one being built in our garage, that I had learned what sound he wanted.
Did the kids go with you?
Oh, yes. They attended every race. And Stephen, our youngest, sold programs. And he liked to sell on the side where they drank beer because they gave such good tips.
That's good. No, that's a good idea. That's a Did Dad ever let him on the infield with him?
Oh, no.
No.
No, they never went to the infield. Well, Dave did when he was 3 months old because the car was parked in the infield and he laid on the back seat. And whenever the car, if he cried, when the cars would start to run, he would quit crying. And they were like his lullaby. He'd go to sleep then.
I'm visualizing, so the Gordon Mann car was parked in the infield. That's where he had his equipment. He brought it out of the car, and you had David in the back seat.
And I wasn't with them. Women weren't allowed in pits. It was bad luck for a woman to be in the pits. It was like having something green. You weren't allowed to have a green car because it was bad luck. And you could, I don't think Emery even sold green cars. And I know that Gordon didn't want a green card for years. It had to do with racing lore. That nowhere did they leave a woman in the pits.
Who was your favorite outside of Emery?
Oh,
When you sat there and you watched these cars going, every once in a while you had to root for somebody.
I like Don Bailey.
Don Bailey. Really from mid-1950s through when? When did he last take his pictures?
1978.
And what's the story of why he quit?
Well, he was at a race up at Stateline, and a car started through the infield toward him. And he felt that he was going to be run over, that he couldn't move quickly enough to get out of its way. And our oldest son was in the stands, and he started down out of the stands to go to his father, because he was sure that Gordon would be run over. And the car didn't hit him. He escaped that time. And he said during the next week, he told us that he was not ever going back to the racetrack, that he felt that the Lord had watched over him and kept him from being killed the week before, and he wasn't going to go anymore. And he didn't.
When he ended taking pictures in 1978, did you guys go to the races after that? Did you sit in the stands?
No. He never went back. And I think it had to do with, it was a hard thing for him to do, to quit. And I think that he knew that if he went back, he would go back to taking pictures.
Right.
And he didn't want to do this, that it would stir up too many memories, and he would want to go.
Why did Emery quit racing? You know why?
I think it had to do with insurance,
Oh.
about the garage.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure I'm right, that the insurance company didn't want him racing because of the implications that if something happened to him, what would happen to the garage, because he hadn't designated anybody to take it over.